Hi again, everyone. I'm Ollie Matthews. This is the Narcissistic Resistance, and this resistance video is sponsored by contribution from Cynthia, who is sponsoring this video for Anonymous. And here's her story. Dear Ollie, I've been meaning to write to you for a long time, but to be perfectly honest, I always felt unsure if I even belong among your audience, given some of the horrible stories I've listened to. I don't know how you do it every day. I listen to these stories sometimes, but I have to stop because it brings on so much stress. Seriously, thank you so much for doing what you do. I grew up in a relatively poor country in Southeast Europe in an upper middle class family. Compared to the kids around me, I lived in luxury, yet all my father ever did was complain he doesn't have enough money. He would say we're in debt and he is struggling, but then buy me luxury shoes when I insisted there was no need to buy the expensive ones, or go buy himself a really high-end suit, crazy expensive fishing supplies, shoes that he does not need, etc. If I ask for a phone, that's a lot cheaper. That's a lot cheaper later on. He and mother would lecture me for hours for daring to ask and for being so spoiled and thinking he has money to throw away. I never understood that and grew up ashamed of myself, never really daring to ask for things. I don't know, maybe I'm reading too much into this, but I can't make sense of it. I do guess he's superficial though, because we live in a huge mansion-like house with an expensive car parked outside, yet inside it's cold, unfurnished rooms, old furniture torn, sleepovers never allowed. No, I don't think you're overreacting. I mean, you got a father basically obsessed with image, superficial image, and obsessed with his own needs over his kids. Constantly wanting to make money the issue. I mean, he'll buy himself expensive suits and an expensive car, but not have furniture inside. I mean, it's that level of selfishness. The reason I'm telling you this is that when our parents insisted on driving my younger brother and I to our college apartment, we lived together and both studied dentistry in another city. They asked if we wanted for them to buy us food. They give us money to spend during the month, but sometimes they treat us by giving us money plus food. The two of us cheerfully accepted, only to find out at the register that this time we had to pay for all the food we picked out to start the month with, out of our own pocket money, something we never do, but strategically spend our money at the cheapest places and slowly during the month. We both refused, and I wanted to put the food back. Then my mother stopped me, forcefully brought it, and berated me for an hour for being so greedy. I eventually began to cry and argue it was a misunderstanding. When I broke into tears, she stopped attacking, lit a cigarette, and I saw her briefly turn sideways and smile, looking so happy. For the first time, I clearly noticed my mother looked straight up evil. The earliest memories I have of my mother is her constantly screaming at us and then giving us a long talking to if we were ever to dare say, "Mommy is always yelling." How about how she isn't always about wait a minute. The earliest memories I have of my mother is her constantly screaming at us and then giving us a long talking to if we ever dare to say Mommy is always yelling, about how she isn't always yelling. Then screaming again. She now often tells me I was a promising, kind, disciplined, adult-like child who showed patience to her younger brothers and always took care of them. But all my memories involve me feeling guilty for doing something wrong. I don't remember her commending me in present tense for being good at anything. I only got commended for doing a specific chore like, look, you can do something useful too. Unsaid part being, instead of being lazy all the time, or for getting an A in a difficult subject like math or biology. As far as grades are concerned, I was never allowed anything else. If I brought home a B, I was always yelled at and could feel the tension growing in me closer I got to home. I was a sensitive kid and tended to cry in school if I got a bad grade, and then cry when getting yelled at and hit. She would insult me for crying after, but my mother's insults are not simple. She aims to hurt and hurt as much as possible. She found ways to make me feel like a worthless piece of shit if I ever cried for anything. And when she'd find out I cried in public, the berating for it doubled. Mother said crying is the same as pissing in public, and clearly displayed she is horribly disgusted with me. She's not really so much disgusted as in fear, because if you're crying in public, she's afraid it's going to come back on her. Because she knows she's abusing you, and she's afraid that you're going to tell somebody what's going on at home with her. That's why she berates. She is a housewife and constantly complains about all the work she does, listing it nonstop. She was often working around the house, but insisted I was a lazy slob bitch for not helping her. When I did my best to help, she would quickly interfere and say, "Don't you have studying to do, sweetie?" I, of course, always had studying to do, and she would lovingly take over so I can study. Later, when I got a B or, God forbid, a C or a D, she would scream at me twice as much for being both lazy to work and around the house and to study. Eventually, I tried to do both, but the work was never ending and I could never make it because my mother trained my brothers to never have to lift a finger, leaving horrible messes all over the place. Always saying to me, "Well, if you don't shit around the house, how are they, being younger than you, going to learn?" She never even tried to ask them to do anything, though. So being called lazy either way, I opted for option 3. Lock myself in my room and study indefinitely. It was the only thing I had growing up: internet, books, and food. It is how I learned English. The real world was closed off to me, but the endless world of knowledge, art, and virtual friends opened in your language. To this day, I feel slightly more relaxed and charismatic hanging out with Americans than I do my own countrymen and women. Growing up, Mother never allowed my brothers and I to leave the front yard. She said, "Who wants to play with you?" She said, "Who wants to play with you can come to our yard." Of course, kids who played group games from dusk to dawn on town schoolyards, woods, and fields isolated us and gave up on inviting us. She later admitted to me that those kids were all stupid hicks and beneath us, offspring of stupid, vile people in our town. She was afraid we would pick up their stupidity and simple-mindedness. Only our youngest brother never listened to her and constantly escaped. The middle brother and I were obedient, always at home, socially unadjusted, and very fat. She cooked horribly, adding oil to everything, and perpetually fed us unhealthy food, keeping the two of us the fattest kids in town at our age range. She now says we just wouldn't stop eating. It's kind of like how my mother only fed my brother fried chicken and then wondered why he was 200 pounds in the 6th grade. Almost 300 pounds by his freshman year in high school. When I lost weight for the first time, I was constantly berated for being anorexic. When I went back to an extra 15 kilograms, I was good in her eyes. After high school, I slowly socialized, moved around more and more, learned all I can about nutrition and exercise, turning into a bit of a health nut, and my weight has been stable for years. The too skinny, gross skinny comments were nonstop, even now, even though everyone else tells me I look great. In fact, the more friends I make, the more I gussy up, more I go out and socialize, have fun, the more put downs my mother has to offer on each move I make. The wonderful girl I befriended is old and stupid. The eyeliner I mastered makes me look like a slut. By the way, Ollie, she only eats veggies, claiming it's what she likes, and she's never been overweight herself. My formerly fat brother ate cafeteria food when he went off to college and lost almost all the extra weight because it wasn't so unhealthy and oily like mom's is. The youngest brother was eventually reeled back in as well as we grew older and withstood the same punishments as in isolation we did. Our mother always had a golden child, but luckily it rotated between us two older kids year to year, depending on which one performed better. I guess it backfired because both brothers turned to me feeling the sting of being a scapegoat. Emotionally, I became the mom, and mother tried to get me to spy on them and control them for her. I felt bad, lied to her, and protected them. They That's what happens when I don't shut my sounds off. Okay. I guess it backfired because both brothers turned to me feeling the sting of being the scapegoat. Emotionally, I became the mom, and mother tried to get me on spy on them and control them for her. I felt bad, lied to her, and protected them. They seemed to have felt it and began to trust me, coming to me for advice, comfort, and love. I decided to create peace in the family and began to study psychology for the good of relationships in the seventh grade. Google was always my first place to fix anything in life. I started with my own selfishness and yelling, turning on a dime almost, confusing the family as I became suddenly quiet. Brother constantly beat Brother constantly beat one another up while we were growing up, and each brother treated the other one as a moving target. Every playtime ended in bruises. Mother would scream at them and beat their asses for it, but they would just do it. I don't know why, maybe it's just how boys are, but I remember slowly making them gentler with one another by telling one brother the other brother loves him and explaining some immature behaviors as way to ask for attention to the older one and telling the younger one his older brother admires something about him. I even cried when I saw cruel behavior by one brother and he felt bad and apologized. Eventually, the constant screamings and beatings ended. Maybe it's their age too. They were entering teen years as well as maturing. Either way, it worked. The three of us became friends and treat one another normally to this day. It is blissful calm when it's just the three of us and no parents to create drama. I'm so grateful to have that. But I really need your advice on the youngest brother, the one I live with in college now. I caught him trying to gaslight me several times. He would tease me for an hour, jokingly sit and lean on me so I can't move, tickle me too much when I demand he stops, but make me laugh and claim I'm not really mad because I'm obviously laughing. A few times he did this until the point of making me yell and cry in order to be finally let go of after probably a half hour of being tortured. Then at that point, he would get mad and say, I'm on my period and overreacting. Saying he didn't know I didn't like it and I'm obviously crazy and over emotional to suddenly switch moods. I would get mad, but he would tickle me too long and I can't help it but to but laugh despite myself. Yeah, that's what tickling does. It's not You're not laughing because it's funny. Your brother shouldn't be tickling you in college. That's really weird. And I think a lot of it has to do with how you kind of got involved with your two brothers like a mother. And I think your younger brother misconstrued it. He keeps repeating this action, and now that I violently and very seriously refuse any tickling at all, he begs and pleads to hang out with him and let him torture me this funny way. Honestly, Ollie, this is my little brother I'm talking about, but this is creeping me out. It looks sadistic. After I explain how much it bothers me, he tries doing it again. Yeah, yeah. That's what this type of narcissist does. They get off on the discomfort. Your brother's got crossed up feelings that he wants to be putting his hands on his sister like that. There's something really, really, really creepy with that. I confronted him and called him out on gaslighting me. He claims he never tried to manipulate, but did apologize for torturing me. We argue at times when he hurts me in other ways, then calls me over emotional after I react to being hurt. Or expects special treatment but doesn't give me equal favor, like chore distribution or shelf space, bathroom schedule, etc. Minor things, pretty rare confrontations, yet we do argue, and I always have to reverse our roles and go out of my way to explain and demonstrate his behavior by intimidating him or imitating him, or through a story for him to realize he was in fact being selfish and to change. We still solve things and he works to make me happy too and make peace. This wouldn't be possible with a narc, right? It depends what his motives are. I'm just want to make sure that in his mind this is a brother-sister relationship, not something else, not something weird, because it's very weird. He also hates going to bed mad, and I don't let. This sounds like a relationship, not a brother-sister. Don't go. Not going to bed mad is something spouses and boyfriends and girlfriends do, not brothers and sisters. He also hates going to bed mad, and I don't let him get away with being cruel. So he always sits there and argues and talks whenever we have a problem. Before we make peace, he apologizes for everything in the end, and in the end, I am no longer mad. Though I still feel I am being gaslighted, and he never admitted to being this calculated. Is it possible I see what isn't there because of my trauma? No, I mean, he's gone through the same stuff as well. So he's just as messed up in different ways. And he was the. Now, listen, you're in college, you're in dental school. It's way too old for your brother to be putting his hands on you and tickling you. That is really, really creepy. He also touches me a lot affectionately, and I suppose it's normal to show love through touch. I hug him too, most jokingly hug his head or pat it. Yet many times growing up, especially in his teens, I felt uncomfortable with his tight hugs. I developed a habit of placing my arms over my breasts when he goes out to randomly hug me and demands I stretch my arms out to hug properly. Even now, only he no longer presses me against his body. I'm not sure if this is just my messed up head making me react in a wrong way to my own brother wanting to hug me. No, like, why is these giant hug? There's something wrong with your brother. Also, to this day, he speaks very sexually explicit things about himself and others, and inappropriate things in front of me, to the disgust and shock of our middle brother, who would never speak to me like that. Is this the is the middle brother justified in his reaction? I don't know, Ollie. Please tell me. Yeah, because like that's our sister. Your middle brother's like that's our sister. What are you doing? And your little brother, I think, has got some kind of sister fetish going. The youngest also bullied kids a few times, as far as I know, as a little kid. But as a young adult man, he doesn't fight, and people say he's kind with everyone. My father once punched our mother in front of him. He was 5, and he laughed his ass off. Mom thought he was in shock or something, but he genuinely just laughed. Yeah, that's a sadist. When I asked why, he says he was just a little kid and he saw that same thing in cartoons. He expected mom to act like Bugs Bunny. Is it possible? Is this possible if he is normal? If a 5-year-old sees his mother get punched in the face and laughs, that ain't normal. That's not normal. There's a difference between seeing a cartoon get punched and seeing a human take a punch to the face. No, that's not normal. He is now huge and threatens dad not to touch our mother, willing to beat him up if he does so again. He is angry about it, and I think it really disturbs him now. He claims to still love his mother too, even though she is insane in his opinion. I also know for a fact quite a few of the guys he hangs out with are narcs, psychopaths, and even one legit narc pedophile. But he says that they are just saying controversial things to get a reaction and are funny guys. He doesn't believe me that they are sick people when I tell him. He himself doesn't agree with their controversial statements, like the one guy saying women should be beat regularly, or the other one saying he will become rich to abuse his workers. That pedo saying 5-year-olds are hot, etc. Oh my God. I myself attracted narcs in my life as well, and I still get them around me, so I'm not sure if his choice in company is alarming. He does have some nice guys in his company too. He's a very social person. He has his first new girlfriend he is very kind and sweet with. I have never heard him manipulate her or put her down, nor does he do so with me, except that gaslighting thing, I think. I am worried, Ollie. Please tell me what you think. Is it possible for a person to be more selfish or unwillingly pick up some narc tactics and some inappropriate behaviors and be a perfectly normal and kind, or am I blind to him like I was blind and convinced by my mother as a saint for the first 20 years of my life? Yeah, you're just blind to him. None of this is normal. None of this is normal. It's probably all a reflection of your parents or your mother's relationship. Back to my parents. My father beats her, rapes her, constantly accuses her of cheating on him, only to beat her again for that. She never leaves the house and wears rags, walking around like Cinderella. Yet when I try to get her outside safely with me without being accused of cheating or to go socializing, she just doesn't want to go anywhere anyway. Claims to be a prisoner in rags, yet refuses to let me buy her clothes using my pocket money because she has nowhere to wear it. Father drank a lot when I was a kid and caused trouble, broke stuff in my mother's bones, but stopped when I was 14. Still beats her though, but not as violently. Mostly chokes her. He never had any relationship with me besides his paranoia, forcing him to slap me once for walking behind him. He was thinking I was trying to grab his ass as a little girl. His paranoia. That doesn't explain where your brother's touchy-feely, grabby shit is coming from. Runs in the family. So yeah, definitely know with your brother it's not normal. It runs in the family. And based on where you're from, Anonymous, that war zone that the Clintons went into, I'm wondering if there's another factor, in your story. His paranoia caused him to awkwardly ask me if I am fucking half the city a few times. I'm a virgin, Ollie. First kiss at 22 last year. And to ban me from going out at night at all. Other than that, money is the only thing I ever got from this man, even though he is a narc and they lie to have an excuse about you. I think he could also be paranoid. He behaves a lot like someone with PPD with other people as well. Thinks someone is trying to poison him, checking for bombs under his car, or constantly having money missing. I don't know. I don't know either, but based on your country's history, I don't know what he was doing in the 90s when that country was at war. I don't know if that has anything to do with his thinking. Mother told me everything he does from the time when I could barely grasp the things he was telling me. I don't remember how young I was. I just know I was so nervous and confused listening early on. I was Mother's bartender psychologist. She told me all about the details of my father's horrible abuse. Honestly cried while telling me many times. In my preteen years, she introduced me to how he rapes her, eventually going so far to start choking me with a psychotic expression on her face in order to demonstrate what he does. My middle brother saw that and pushed her away because he happened to walk in on us talking. She would sit me down and spend up to 5 hours describing the most horrible actions and behaviors, not just of my dad, but his entire side of the family, telling me why she hates them all, person by person, and giving them cousin stories and what happened to them. I don't doubt there are lots of narcs there. This drains me so much, but I still feel bad to make her stop. I feel sorry for her, and it's harder to resist that than to get away from her when she's yelling. It was only recently that I realized these are secrets. She was gossiping, and when I said she hates grandma in front of dad, she looked at me crazy mad and later called me a sly traitor, hissing in twisted rage that shocked me. I had no idea these speeches were her hidden feelings. I thought she at least expressed them to others she despises in some way. Father told me horrible things about her as well when I was 19, but mostly said obviously effed up shit like she doesn't put out enough, so honey, I have to beat her, or she's cheating on me all the time. I think my father just has a very low IQ to be able to slander people like she does, or understand what he is saying. I can't believe him, but I now I don't believe her either. And that's the problem when you don't know who to believe. That's the problem I have with my parents. They're both liars. So you don't know who to, you know abuse is going on, but they both enable it for each other. So I took on the role of therapist. It's why I researched psychology online from time to time, from the time of being a teen. Ironically enough, I didn't see who my mother was until I engaged in an actual experiment. I was researching BDSM and ended up on a site called FetLife. I do some I do feel some attraction to BDSM power dynamics, but I think most people do as well. BDSM is pretty mainstream lately, at least the lighter aspects of it. I created a profile as a submissive and was soon chatted up by a med student from a nearby city with a profile of a dominant. We had a lot in common with similar studies and interests and began a deeper conversation. By that time, I was already intensely researching narcissism for a year and quickly realized this guy is a narc by the way he love bombed me and mirrored me, flip flopping on opinions as fast as I did. I did it to mess with him. I decided to become his submissive in order to understand trauma bonding. We met up once to shake hands and he refused to visit me later on after he heard I really needed him. My motivation got my motivation going into it was help understand why mother is not leaving my monster of a father so I can save her. I tried to establish boundaries, but after a month this guy had control even over my bathroom time. His mask was off so fast once I convinced him I am in love. I really did like that control. As far as BDSM itself goes, if done by normal people, I get why it can be very pleasurable, relaxing, and exciting both at once, kind of like doing drugs. The only thing he never had a grasp on was my sexuality. I absolutely refused to offer any sex talk and any sexual pictures. And I completely lied about my psychological vulnerabilities, giving him a fake story of my family and emotional background. I didn't trust him and stayed safe in this matter, as much as you can call it safe. He still has videos of me drinking urine from a glass like apple juice or licking the carpet. He still tortured me, insulted me, scared me, and I could hear him get off a few times over the phone when he made me cry. This is not normal. Drinking urine is not normal. That is not soft. That is not normal. BDSM is not normal. I'm sorry. It's just not. When I wasn't feeling anything because I never trusted him with my psychological vulnerabilities, I thought about what would hurt me and force myself to cry eventually, really getting lost in this emotional dependency created through his torture and my acting, that I genuinely did develop an attachment to him, like a crush, not sure. I would even cry to a point of hyperventilating. I was turned on all the time and needed him to hug me more than anything because I would become as vulnerable as a child. BDSM people call it aftercare. Yet at the same time, I was afraid he would ever actually grant my wish and come visit me, because I knew he was a narcopath and don't doubt there is a legitimate possibility of him trying to rape me, even though I suspect that he found sex disgusting and something he would want to deny his partner in order to hurt her. By the way, he did study psychiatry a lot, and once I got him to admit he thinks he's a psychopath, only saying it an hour later. After 3 months, it was one of his episodes of abruptly dumping me to try to make me cry. I just said I accepted and told him I moved on. It took a lot of fake, it just didn't work out, peacemaking, blocking, subtle threats, and a whole year to finally be rid of his hoovering. But at the end of that all, I came out of it feeling like a narc myself. I felt powerful after using them, as dumb as that sounds. I lied and manipulated to get information, and I got it, but was left feeling disturbed with who I really am. Finally, the only thing I ever saw in this guy throughout the entire 3 months of our relationship was not my evil estranged father, but my violent controlling mother. It clicked. I finally understood why she didn't leave Ollie. She needs him. She's a victim and she revels in it. Yeah, I mean, I could have told you that. I could have told you that without going through the BDSM experiment, but I kind of question why you went through that. Based on the incestuous feelings of your brother and your father slapping you as a child for you got incest, you got the air of incest all over your family. And if you're going through BDSM to try, I don't know if I buy that. There's nothing mainstream about BDSM and drinking urine out of a. There's nothing mainstream about that. You're really damaged. For the first time, I notice she is constantly sighing loudly whenever she does anything at all. She is always sick, but stronger than anyone. She revels in being a victim. She also admitted to me she won't leave. And I guarantee you, this woman sexually abused you in some way and you're not remembering it. I can guarantee you this. Somebody was sexually abusing somebody in that household, multiple people. There's no way. There's no way. She also admitted to me, finally, she won't leave him because she doesn't want him to get to marry a young gold digger and win. She needs to suffer too, and she wants to take all he has financially. So he can't afford the gold digger. After this, I got emotionally distant from her for the first time and processed my entire life under her thumb. Did you know it's inappropriate for a mother to constantly barge into her daughter's bathroom while the daughter is on the toilet or naked bathing and begging the mother to get out? I didn't know. I thought that's what all mothers do. Yeah, and that's something we all talk about a lot on this channel. My mother used to try to always barge into the bathroom. They do it all the time. She stripped me and showed her sister my first pubic hair, Ollie. I was 11. And here's where the BDSM, incest, sexual abuse is coming from. Just as I suspected. She fed me shit and constantly shoved little soaps up my butt to help me poop. Here it is. So you went and found the guy who's going to treat you the same way as your mother on that BDSM site. It wasn't your father, like you said. It was your mother you were trying to figure out, not your father. You said he would control your bathroom stuff. In the last year, I just got random crying attacks. I didn't know why, how, or where it came from. I was just standing there, completely confused, crying elephant tears in my head, thinking, what is happening? Seriously. I saw a private practice psychiatrist who knew nothing about narcissism, began to talk about Freud and his lesbian patients, told me how I am really in rebound from the D's relationship I had, and then gave me an antidepressant, only to stop seeing me and refuse to at least give me the required minimum 6-month prescription for my medicine because I disrespected him and tried to postpone one session. My parents were in town. I had to. He dropped me like a hot potato and hung up, telling me to figure it out when I told him I'm supposed to take my meds 6 months minimum. So weird, Ollie. I don't know. I can't go to a public hospital because of my country. Having psychiatrist visits on your record is basically career suicide. Doctor-patient confidentiality here is mostly a joke. I still use the medicine for 3 months. My crying fits haven't returned and I feel optimistic. Hopefully it's going to stay this way. They really help me. For now I am focusing on detaching emotionally, finding ways to reduce contact, getting my degree, and moving on with my life. Thank you, Ollie, for all the clarity you gave me in search for my answers, your commentary to this letter, and many others. I wish you the best, Anonymous. Well, your problem is you don't know which narcissist is telling the truth. And that's how you ended up here. That's how you ended up under the blanket of incest here. Okay, in your own story, I mean, all your questions answered themselves about your brother, about your mother, about all of it. The tickling, the touching, your father swatting your hand away, the mother shoving soap up your butt, showing your pubic hair at 11 to other people. This is all shit we've gone through. This is all things my mother did. This is all things our mothers did. And this has happened. You were sexually abused. The BDSM is not normal. You were seeking the same type of abuse your mother was, trying to understand it, maybe getting off on it because it was comfortable, but it's not healthy at all. The thing with your brother's got problems, your family's got problems. I would suggest getting out of dentistry school and getting away as fast as you can. You can't fix this. You can't fix this. And I have a feeling that based on where you live, you have even less of a chance to fix this because of what the culture is. Let's face it. a lot of this stuff can also be cultural, what's going on. Those attitudes, how they're talking about it openly, rape women and women should be beat, comes from a certain sect. I don't know if that's the case or not, but based on the country you're from and the problems they had in the 90s that the United States intervened in, Hillary Clinton said she took sniper fire there and didn't. That's a subject for another video. But all these things can be factors. Here's the bottom line. You don't know who's telling the truth. Doesn't matter. They're both lying. They're both manipulative, and they both fucked up all their kids. So hopefully you can get away and make sense of this and get to a place maybe where you can even have some HIPAA laws, some privacy laws, or get a job, and then it's not going to matter where you go for psychiatry. So thank you to Cynthia for sponsoring the story. Thank you. I did not know it was going to go where it was going to go. Thank you to Anonymous for sending it. I really appreciate it. I hope it helps. Thank you to everybody watching. Please leave any opinions or advice in the comment section below. And if you want your story on the resistance, you have a narcissist you'd like to expose, a topic you'd like me to cover, or you'd like to set up a Skype, private phone call, have a private video made, Facebook chat, or you'd like to sponsor a video like this for someone else, or just sponsor the channel in general, you know what to do with the PayPal and email links in the description box. And if you're still unclear, the instructional video link pops up at the end of this video, and we'll walk you through all of that. Please like and share this video wherever you can. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't, and be sure to click the subscription bell to be notified of all my video uploads. I'm Ollie Matthews. This has been The Narcissistic Resistance. Thank you for watching.